you ever stop to wonder if you're lying to yourself? It's a question we rarely ask, yet it might be the most crucial one of all. In a world where we've mastered the art of spinning tales to avoid uncomfortable truths, we often downplay our doubts, inflate our successes, and convince ourselves we're happy, even as chaos brews beneath the surface. Fyodor Dostoevsky captures this struggle with striking clarity. Above all, don't lie to yourself. The man who lies to himself and listens to his own lie comes to a point where he cannot distinguish the truth within him or around him, and thus loses all respect for himself and for others. What lies is he talking about? They're the stories we tell ourselves, the carefully crafted narratives that shield us from the raw, unfiltered reality of who we are and what we truly feel. This is a call to strip away the layers of self-deception and confront the truths we've buried deep within. Are you ready to face them? What lie? It's the lie we convince ourselves of based on what we desire. These are the lies we tell ourselves that seem harmless on the surface. However, these seemingly innocuous deceptions contain cracks in the foundation of true reality. Dostoevsky is highlighting the concept of self-sabotage, which can lead to our own destruction when we start believing our own lies. Aldous Huxley articulates this idea beautifully. We protect our minds by an elaborate system of abstractions, ambiguities, metaphors, and similes from the reality we do not wish to know too clearly. We lie to ourselves in order that we may still have the excuse of ignorance. Dostoevsky is emphasizing a crucial point. How can you truly grow if you aren't honest about your weaknesses? How can you forge genuine connections with others if you're entangled in a web of self-deception? Self-deception begins small, perhaps by ignoring a weakness, avoiding a hard truth, or exaggerating a success to boost our self-esteem. However, when these small lies are repeated over time, they become a habit, creating a gap between who we truly are and who we believe ourselves to be. When we lie to ourselves, we construct a version of reality that feels comfortable. For instance, we might convince ourselves that we're happy in a job that isn't fulfilling, or that we have no faults in a relationship, even if we sense otherwise deep down. This self-deception may appear protective, but it ultimately ensnares us. Over time, the lies we tell ourselves begin to feel real, making it increasingly difficult to recognize and confront the truth. This leads to confusion. We become unsure of what is genuine and what is part of the narrative we have invented. Dostoevsky warns us that if we persist in this pattern, we risk losing touch with reality and ultimately ourselves. Our relationships suffer because people connect best with those who are authentic, not those who are lost in their own illusions, who are honest and self-aware. Without this honesty, our connections with others remain superficial, and our personal growth is stunted as we live behind a shield of our own making, rather than confronting and addressing our true issues. In essence, while self-deception may shield us from immediate discomfort, it ultimately results in a life that feels empty and inauthentic. Now, what is the real truth? The real truth is the unvarnished reality of who we are, stripped of the stories we tell ourselves to feel safe or superior. It's acknowledging our flaws, fears, and failures without sugarcoating them. It's recognizing the gap between where we are and where we want to be, and having the courage to bridge it. The real truth is understanding that growth begins with self-awareness, and self-awareness begins with honesty. It's about facing the uncomfortable, embracing vulnerability, and choosing authenticity over illusion. Only then can we build meaningful connections, achieve genuine growth, and live a truly fulfilling life. The real truth is this: you cannot outrun yourself, and the sooner you stop lying to yourself, the sooner you can start living a life that is real, rich, and deeply rewarding. What's the real truth? That's another interesting question that should arise in every mind. People often think their knowledge is the truth, but it's not. Having knowledge isn't an answer at all. There's a clear difference between truth and knowledge. Having knowledge is a pathway, a map toward the truth, but the map is so much bigger. Fyodor Dostoevsky emphasizes that the greatest lie is the belief that you possess knowledge of the truth when in fact you don't. Socrates echoed this sentiment when he said, "The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing." In current generations, people have adopted unique approaches to life. There are nihilists, preachers of religion who don't follow their own teachings, and many more. These individuals are all lying to themselves. They haven't found peace in their lives. The constant pressure of accepting a fate they haven't chosen is killing them from the inside. It's preventing them from seeing the real truth, the truth that lies beyond the illusions they've constructed. The real truth is not something you can simply know. It's something you must seek, question, and experience. It's about humility, curiosity, and the willingness to admit that you don't have all the answers. Only then can you begin to peel back the layers of deception and step closer to what is real. In Dostoevsky's words, a man who lies to himself comes to a point where he does not discern any truth either in himself or anywhere around him, where he loses all respect for himself and for others. This lack of truth means that he can no longer fully trust or respect himself. He begins to see himself as flawed or hypocritical, which gnaws at his sense of integrity. As self-respect diminishes, it naturally affects how he views others. Without a foundation of respect for himself, he projects his cynicism outward, making it difficult to appreciate the value or authenticity of others. The bitterness he feels toward his own flaws colors his perception of those around him, leading him to see others as equally unworthy of respect. Because he lacks self-respect, he assumes that others are just as untrustworthy or flawed. Without respect, he also struggles to form genuine connections, as relationships are built on mutual respect and trust. He begins to view others through a lens of suspicion or detachment, perceiving everyone as playing a role rather than being authentic. When self-respect is absent, he loses the foundation that makes relationships meaningful. This ultimately leads to isolation, where love and deep bonds become nearly impossible, as love requires a belief in both oneself and others. Without respect, there is no space for love to grow. Now, one more question arises. How would I know when I'm lying to myself? One of the best ways to recognize self-deception is to pay attention to your automatic emotional reactions to what others say or do. For instance, if you feel offended or get angry at someone for doing something seemingly ridiculous, or if you feel the urge to defend or justify yourself, these reactions often reveal underlying insecurities. We mask these insecurities by projecting an air of certainty, and to maintain that certainty, we may end up lying to ourselves. If someone calls you an 8-headed alien, you wouldn't be bothered because you're confident it's not true. But if someone comments on your weight and you're insecure about it, that hits harder. Consider a political discussion. If you feel compelled to react strongly to what someone like John says, ask yourself why. Political and religious views can be challenging to feel entirely secure about. And to cover up that uncertainty, people often act overly certain. They may ignore the complexities of opposing arguments, lie to themselves, and become upset or defensive. Not being able to remain friends with someone who disagrees is another indication of this self-deception. So how can we avoid falling into this trap? Start by cultivating self-awareness. When you feel a strong emotional reaction, pause and ask yourself, why does this bother me? Is it because it touches on a truth you've been avoiding? Practice humility and acknowledge that you don't have all the answers. Embrace curiosity over certainty and be willing to explore perspectives that challenge your own. Surround yourself with people who encourage honesty, not just agreement. Most importantly, be kind to yourself. Recognizing self-deception isn't about self-criticism, but about growth. By facing the truths you've been hiding from, you can begin to live a more authentic, fulfilling life. How can we avoid falling into this trap? One reason I love Fyodor Dostoevsky is his positive outlook on life. He envisioned a world where joy, compassion, and beauty exist in everything. He famously stated that beauty will save the world. Dostoevsky aimed to eradicate the negative aspects of society, such as racism, inequality, and nihilistic thoughts, which ultimately lead people to chaos. Not lying to yourself is another pathway to living a happy and content life. But the question remains, how can we achieve this? To address self-deception and gain personal clarity, Dostoevsky's works encourage a journey of deep self-awareness, introspection, and a commitment to uncovering the truth. His novels, especially Crime and Punishment and The Brothers Karamazov, Explore how characters are often ensnared by self-deception through unresolved guilt, pride, or fear. These stories serve as mirrors reflecting the consequences of living in denial and the transformative power of facing the truth. To avoid the trap of self-deception, start by embracing honesty with yourself. Acknowledge your flaws, fears, and insecurities without judgment. Practice mindfulness and self-reflection. Ask yourself tough questions and be willing to sit with uncomfortable answers. Surround yourself with people who challenge you to grow and who value authenticity over pretense. Cultivate humility, recognizing that you don't have all the answers, and that growth often comes from discomfort. Finally, seek beauty and meaning in the world, as Dostoevsky suggested. When you focus on the things that inspire joy and compassion, you create a life rooted in truth rather than illusion. By committing to this journey, you can break free from self-deception and live a life that is not only happier, but also deeply authentic. Through hidden desires and societal pressures, Dostoevsky's characters grapple with their inner conflicts and moral dilemmas. Through their struggles, Dostoevsky forces readers to confront uncomfortable truths about themselves, exposing the complexities of human nature. One of the key examples of this theme is Raskolnikov in Crime and Punishment, who initially justifies his crime through intellectual reasoning, but soon finds himself trapped in a cycle of guilt and self-delusion. His journey illustrates that escaping self-deception requires a brutally honest look at one's motives and values, breaking down the rationalizations that mask personal flaws. For Dostoevsky, true self-awareness means acknowledging and accepting the contradictory forces within oneself. Characters like Ivan Karamazov from the Brothers Karamazov embody this struggle, balancing intellectual skepticism and moral responsibility. Ultimately, Ivan's story reveals that self-awareness involves confronting difficult inner realities and reconciling conflicting aspects of one's personality. Dostoevsky suggests that avoiding self-deception requires humility and a willingness to face one's own limitations, even when it's painful. This path aligns with a sense of existential responsibility, where one accepts the consequences of their actions rather than hiding behind excuses or illusions. It's about embracing the messiness of being human, the light and the dark, the strengths and the weaknesses. By doing so, we can begin to dismantle the lies we tell ourselves and step into a more authentic existence. Dostoevsky's works remind us that while the journey to self-awareness is fraught with discomfort, it is also the only way to achieve true freedom and inner peace. By stripping away self-justifications and societal conditioning, Dostoevsky proposes that individuals can break free from self-imposed traps and develop a more genuine understanding of themselves. However, escaping self-deception and achieving personal clarity doesn't end with self-awareness alone. It must be accompanied by a continual expansion of knowledge, a key element in personal growth. The more you learn, the more you realize how much more there is to understand, fostering humility and a readiness to explore new perspectives, cultures, and religions. Uncovering truth requires engaging deeply with various philosophies and belief systems, which help reveal universal themes of human values, struggles, and aspirations. For Dostoevsky, truth is not a simple endpoint, but a lifelong journey, requiring the courage to question even one's own beliefs. By immersing oneself in knowledge, whether through philosophy, literature, science, or art, we begin to see the world and ourselves in a more nuanced and profound way. This ongoing pursuit of understanding not only dismantles the illusions we cling to, but also opens the door to a richer, more authentic existence. In the end, Dostoevsky's message is clear. The path to truth is not easy, but it is the only path worth taking. Dostoevsky suggests that through religion, philosophy, and a relentless pursuit of knowledge, individuals can dismantle the layers of self-deception that often cloud their sense of self and purpose. This pursuit not only leads to a deeper connection with oneself, but also cultivates a sense of shared human experience, guiding individuals toward a more authentic, universal truth. Through such a journey, individuals can finally ground their personal identity in a truth that transcends illusions, leading to a richer understanding of both themselves and the world around them.